Hi, everyone. We are live. My name is Antoinette Mays. I'm an attorney with the Mays Law Firm. We are based in Houston, Texas, and we are going to talk today about studying in the United States as a foreign national. We're also going to talk about the F and M visa categories. So I'm going to wait just another moment and then we will get started. All right, so I think we can go ahead and move on to the next slide. Oops. Okay, so let's start with the basics. What kind of visas can you use in order to study in the United States? Okay, so we have two categories. The F category is more academically focused, so you have university, college, maybe a private elementary school, high school. M category is for vocational training, non-academic purposes. So you have two options when you're studying the F or the M visa. Okay. So these visas are not required for recreational studying or short-term stay. So let's say that you're coming into the US for some sort of um, course that you want to take just for your own interest and it does not confer any sort of college credit, then that type of visa would not, excuse me, that type of course would not require an F or M category. That would be more along the lines of a visitor's visa or some sort of business visa. So just keep that in mind. Also, if you were planning on using the visa waiver program, you could not study under that program. So if you're coming from a country that's recognized under the visa waiver program, just keep that in mind that you would actually need an F or M category visa in order to study in the United States, academically or for vocational training. All right, so let's get into the process of actually obtaining that visa. First, you would have to get accepted into a school that's recognized by the, excuse me, student exchange visitor program. So they do have a list of institutions and that they recognize. So you would have to be cognizant of that whenever you're applying. Once they accept you, then you would be enrolled in. Excuse me. Once they accept you, they're going to issue a form I-20, and then you're going to also be enrolled in the student exchange visitor information system. Once that is issued. All right. There is also a fee, an I-901 fee, so just be aware of that. At that time, once you're enrolled in the Student Exchange Visitor Information System, you can then apply for an interview at the U.S. Embassy or Consulate. You're going to also present the I-20 that you would have received from your school at the interview. So make sure you definitely keep hold of all that paperwork. We're going to have another video on how you conduct yourself during an interview, but we're not going to dive too much into the interview process at this time. So let's say you have a spouse and or children that you want to come with you. They would also need to kind of follow along the same lines. They would obtain their own I-20 from the institution that you're accepted into. They would also need to enroll in the Student Exchange Visitor Information System. And then they would also need to apply for their own visas. So your visa would be the F1, M1. Their visa would be the F2 or M2. Okay. They would not be required to pay that same I-901 fee that I mentioned earlier. All right. So now we're actually ready to apply for the visa itself. So everything we did prior to that was just in preparation for this point. So I want to mention that the order of these steps can vary depending on the embassy or consulate. So just be aware that you consult, be aware of that and make sure that you actually consult the website or speak with someone ahead of time on the instructions on how they actually want you to go about applying. So just so you know, it's very rare that any sort of interviews are waived. especially if you're between the ages of 14 and 78, or your spouse or children are between those ages. If you're outside of those ages, then you do have opportunities to potentially have your interview waived, but just be aware of that. As far as wait times to actually get your interview, they vary greatly by location. So just to illustrate, I did pull a few dates, or excuse me, I did pull a few locations as to see how far in advance the interview could potentially be scheduled. So, and the wait times. So, we're going to look at a few locations. So, for example, Amsterdam, they require, or excuse me, currently they have a 53 calendar day wait time. Bangkok, on the other hand, has only a 4. Accra has 125. Mexico City has 7. Frankfurt has 23, and Lagos has 53. Okay, so those can vary greatly. So just keep that in mind as you're making your plans and your application process on how long you can potentially wait just for your interview. All right. So you've had your interview. Let's say that they're ready to issue you your F or M visa, right? So the visa itself can be issued up to a year before your actual course start date. However, you cannot enter the US more than 30 days prior to your actual start date. So just keep that in mind as well. So let's say you enter the US with your visa, you went through your study program, wonderful. Now it's time to depart, right? So you're required to depart the US within 60 days of your program end date listed on your Form I-20, or unless you're authorized to extend your stay. Again, we're not going to go too much into that extension right now, although there are different options, especially relating to employment, your OPT, especially if you're in a STEM field, that could be extended for up to 2 years after your graduation. So there are a few options out there that we'll discuss at a later time, not today. But just keep that in mind. If you don't have any sort of extension option, if you're not engaged in any sort of those, if any of those options, excuse me, then you will be required to leave within 60 days after the program end date. All right. So we are drawing to the end. Thank you guys for joining. I hope this information was helpful. If you have any questions that kind of arose during this video, feel free to send us an email. You can also go to our website, www.maysawyer.com. We do have an interactive chat feature, and someone will respond to you. If you want to have a one-on-one with myself in order to really discuss your options, you do have on my website, there is a option to book a consultation so that we can talk one-on-one. Otherwise, I just want to remind everyone that immigration is a journey, especially in the US. Immigration can be very complicated and very onerous. But if there's anything that's worth having, it can present challenges, and it probably will present challenges. So if that's something that is near and dear to your heart, please do not give up, and we are definitely here to assist as well. Otherwise, that wraps up today's video. You all have a wonderful day and happy first of the month. Please make sure to stay connected to us. We do have a Facebook group, and our website does have plenty of resources so that you can kind of get some assistance during this time as well. Okay, well, you all have a wonderful day and talk soon. Bye.